Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Technical problems again, right off the bat. Microphone muted, but now we're on. And we are late tonight. I do apologize to everyone for the technical foul up at the beginning of the broadcast at 6, but we are firing on the right cylinders now. Welcome back, Maverick family, to the Maverick News Channel. Justin Trudeau says Pierre Poilievre needs to wake up, and Poilievre fires back. A Windsor cop reprimanded for making a donation to the Freedom Convoy. What else tonight? The World Health Organization declaring the pandemic emergency over, but still warning about COVID. Another bank failure, fallout from that. Coronation, King Charles, coming up tomorrow, but not everybody wants to see that happen. I'll tell you why. And we'll show you a chocolate king. Yes, we will. Shell refinery explosion down in Texas. And deep fakes. I guess they're becoming a growing issue, a problem, and you could end up being charged potentially if you share a deep fake that is pornographic in nature, unless you have the consent of the person you're faking it, who was faked. So we'll talk about that and the political ramifications too, and the safety issues that come with all of that. Also, last night we talked about getting a goldfish or a fish. And we're going to explore how that exercise, just getting a goldfish, is going to, I'm going to use that as an opportunity for us all to learn about what it takes to build a great society. Yes, I'll explain later. And I'm hoping we have time to get to the phones despite the late start tonight, because this is FU Friday. And I know everybody was excited about it. So we'll try to get to the phones. And I think Leo, if he's still out there, I hope he is. I hope that the misfire on the show at 6 o'clock tonight didn't scare him away or prevent him from participating, because I know he has a lot to say tonight on this first FU Friday, and I really don't know what to expect. FU Friday was not really my idea. It all came from you guys. So if it goes sideways or goes south or goes in some weird direction, don't blame me. I don't know. Blame Leo, blame yourselves, blame somebody. Just don't blame me. So we've got all that and a whole lot more coming up right here on the Maverick News Channel, right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
The World Health Organization has declared the COVID pandemic emergency over. But the pandemic itself, well, it's not entirely over, they say. They say we still need to be aware of it and learn to manage it. Not everyone is happy, though, especially, well, including some health officials, bureaucrats, and some government types here in Canada and in the United States who say this is still premature, and and I'm not surprised because some people are just control freaks at the end of the day. However, here is Dr. Tedros addressing this, saying that, well, just what I told you, the pandemic emergency is over.
221 days ago, WHO learned of a cluster of cases of pneumonia of unknown cause in Wuhan, China. On the 30th January 2020, on the advice of an emergency committee convened under the international health regulations, I declared a public health emergency of international concern over the global outbreak of COVID-19, the highest level of alarm under international law. At that time, outside China, there were fewer than 100 reported cases and no reported deaths. In 3 years since then, COVID-19 has turned our world upside down.
To say the least.
Almost 7 million deaths have been reported to WHO, but we know the toll is several times higher, at least 20 million. Health systems have been severely disrupted, with millions of people missing out on essential health services, including life-saving vaccinations for children. But COVID-19 has been so much more than a health crisis. It has caused severe economic upheaval.
Do you think?
Erasing trillions from GDP, disrupting travel and trade, shattering businesses, and plunging millions into poverty.
Good job, Dr. Tedros.
Severe social upheaval, with borders closed, movement restricted, schools shut, and millions of people experiencing loneliness, isolation, anxiety, and depression. COVID-19 has exposed and exacerbated political fault lines within and between nations. It has eroded trust between people, governments, and institutions, fueled by a torrent of mis- and disinformation. And it has laid bare the searing inequalities of our world, with the poorest and most vulnerable communities the hardest hit, and the last to receive access to vaccines and other tools. For more than a year, the pandemic has been on a downward trend, with population immunity increasing from vaccination and infection, mortality decreasing, and the pressure on health systems easing. This trend has allowed most countries to return to life as we knew it before COVID-19.
Wow.
For the past year, the Emergency Committee and WHO have been analyzing the data carefully and considering when the time would be right to lower the level of alarm. Yesterday, the Emergency Committee met for the 15th time and recommended to me that I declare an end to the public health emergency of international concern.
Good idea.
I have accepted that advice.
Good.
It's therefore with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency.
Well, thank goodness for that.
However, that does not mean COVID-19 is over as a global health threat. Last week, COVID-19 claimed life every 3 minutes. And that's just the deaths we know about. As we speak, thousands of people around the world are fighting for their lives in intensive care units. And millions more continue to live with the debilitating effects of post-COVID-19 condition. This virus is here to stay. It's still killing, and it's still changing. The risk remains of new variants emerging that cause new surges in cases and deaths. The worst thing any country could do now is to use this news as a reason to let down its guard, to dismantle the systems it has built, or to send the message to its people that COVID-19 is nothing to worry about. What this news means is that it's time for countries to transition from emergency mode to managing COVID-19 alongside other infectious diseases. I emphasize that this is not a snap decision. It's a decision that has been considered carefully for some time, planned for, and made on the basis of a careful analysis of the data. If need be, I will not hesitate to convene another emergency committee should COVID-19 once again put our world in peril. While this emergency committee will now cease its work, it has sent a clear message that countries must not cease theirs. On the committee's advice, I have decided to use a provision in the international health regulations that has never been used before, to establish a review committee to develop long-term standing recommendations for countries on how to manage COVID-19 on an ongoing basis. In addition, WHO this week published the 4th edition of the Global Strategic Preparedness and Response Plan for COVID-19, which outlines critical actions for countries in 5 core areas: collaborative surveillance, community protection, safe and scalable care, access to countermeasures, and emergency coordination. For more than 3 years, the experts on the Emergency Committee have devoted their time, their experience, and their expertise, not just to advise me on whether COVID-19 continues to represent a global health emergency, but to also advise on recommendations for countries. I would like to express my deep gratitude to all the members of the Emergency Committee for their thoughtful consideration and wise advice. I thank especially Professor Didier Ussa for his leadership as chair over the past 3 years. He has led the committee with a calm demeanor and a steady hand through turbulent times. I also wish to thank the incredible people who I have the privilege to call my colleagues. For more than 3 years, the people of WHO have labored day and night under intense pressure and intense scrutiny. They have brought together partners and experts from around the world to generate evidence, study, and translate it into guidance and actions for the world. In countries around the world, WHO has worked closely with governments to translate that guidance into policies and actions to save lives. My colleagues have worked tirelessly to get vaccines and other supplies to more people faster. And they have countered mis- and disinformation with accurate and reliable information. I do not have the words to express my gratitude to everyone around the world who, like me, is proud to be WHO.
Okay, that's enough. The scariest thing that I'm hearing from that is everything he just said, because it tells me that after 3 years, and even though he is sitting there and acknowledging all of the problems that the actions taken because of his advice, all the negative stuff he just talked about, anxiety, depression, destroyed businesses, a gutted economy, supply chain destruction, deaths because people were denied health care for other things, testing for diseases that went delayed or didn't happen at all, people dying of heart attacks and cancers because they didn't get the tests and the care that they needed because everything was shut down because of his direction. In spite of all of these things, the political turmoil, the entire world literally being turned upside down that he acknowledges, he and those around him have learned nothing. Because he's made it very clear that he is ready and willing to do it all again. Wouldn't hesitate. And they're just sitting back waiting, watching, looking for the opportunity to do it. And if not the opportunity, then the whatever, a resurgence, another virus, another form of the virus, mutate, whatever, they would do it all again. And that scares me.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so a Windsor police officer has been told he has to work unpaid hours as a penalty for the $50 that he donated to the Freedom Convoy. Constable Michael Briscoe donated to the Freedom Convoy back in February of 2022. He did it anonymously. He did it while off duty. He did it at home, as many others did. But his name was revealed on a list of donors who had donated to the Give, Send, Go campaign, and that was hacked. As a result, his name became public. As a result, he is being reprimanded. We've seen this happen to an officer in Ottawa as well. There was a disciplinary hearing that was held for Briscoe. He's a 16-year veteran of the Windsor Police Service. He testified he did not believe he would return to work as a police officer because of what was happening to him, this disciplinary action. He said he was donating to the convoy as a civilian. He thought he was laid off, he said, at the time. And Windsor's lawyer, or rather mayor, let me see if I can find a quote here. During the hearing, lawyers submitted 2 different requests for the number of penalty hours that Briscoe would have to work. Defense lawyer Shane Miles asked for 40 hours, while the prosecution requested a penalty of 140 hours. The prosecuting lawyer said the public must be shown that the Windsor Police Service does not condone this behavior. Briscoe's lawyer said the prosecution's proposed penalty was extreme and reserved only for the worst offenders in the worst circumstances, such as an officer convicted of excessive use of force. But at the hearing, which was adjudicated by a retired provincial police sergeant, the adjudicator said it was very clear that there was no reason for Briscoe to think he was no longer employed with the service at the time. And he said that the evidence, in his opinion, was, quote, overwhelming. He said he did not believe a reasonable person could reach any other conclusion. And he said the public's interest in this case looms very large. Obviously, I strongly disagree with this. I think if anyone wants to make an anonymous donation to any organization, any charity, any political movement, they should be free to do so without fear of negative repercussions or disciplinary action of any kind. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a police officer, a nurse, a garbage collector, or someone who works at McDonald's. As a citizen, you should be free to donate to anyone, anything, any way you want. They would never have known had the Give, Send, Go account not been hacked. And this is the guy, if you may recall, who claims to have hacked the Give, Send, Go, Aubrey Cottle.
Nothing scares me. Nothing. Yes, I doxed the truckers. I did it. It was me. I hacked Give, Send, Go, baby. And I do it again. I do it 100 times. I did it. I did it. Come at me. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to me, huh? I hacked Epic Hosting! I hacked Parler! I hacked Gab! I hacked Truth Social! I hacked Go! Give, Send, Go! I don't care! I'm you can literally put my name into the news tab on Google, and you can find everything I've done. I am literally in every mainstream media publication for the things that I do. I'm not an unknown actor. I'm literally a famous fucking cyber terrorist. And you think that you can scare me?
She scares me. He scares me. That doesn't seem normal to me. Nothing right now seems normal. He doesn't seem normal. What's happening to that police officer doesn't seem normal. The world is upside down. We have a World Health Organization that is fully prepared to proceed and take exactly the same steps that they took back, at the beginning of the pandemic, even though they've seen all the shortcomings. The approach they used had never been used before, ever in history. And yet they seem so committed to it. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I am beyond perplexed. I am worried. And yep, that guy, this guy. Yeah, he scares me. I would not want to meet him in person because he just seems very off-center. Wow. And the information that guy got, they're using to go after the trucker. This is why I just have problems sometimes reconciling hacked information, leakers, right? Because in this case, if you don't like the truckers, if you think that what the freedom movement was doing was wrong, if you think that the efforts by the truckers at the Freedom Convoy, if you think that that was all wrong, then this guy's a hero because he hacked Give, Send, Go and exposed all the names on the donor list. If indeed it was him, he claims to be the one, although I've seen no absolute proof of that. Why would I doubt it? I don't know. I'm not really doubting anything. I'm just saying. Just because somebody says they did something, for all I know, he's just a publicity hound, right? So, but if he did it or whoever did it, that would then, if you're on the truckers are the bad guys side, then he's a hero. But if you're on the freedom side, then that guy's a jerk. And what he did is illegal. He hacked into a private website, revealed financial information, donor information, which in my view has been illegally obtained. It was stolen through hacking. And then police services took that information, which was made public. This police service and other organizations took that information that was used to dox truckers and donors. And now they're using it to discipline people. So if we have people stealing information, hacking into things, and then putting the information out there, like I totally understand how two wrongs could equal a right. I mean, if you have a government that is clearly lying to people about war, and we've seen that happen many, many times, and then you have someone who steals documents and releases them to the public to reveal the big lie, then I can understand how that person could be viewed as a hero. Yet at the same time, if you're on the other side and you think that what the government is doing is right in going into war, even if they've lied to manufacture the consent for that military action, than the person who stole the documents or hacked in or just took hard copies or whatever they did. But then that person would be viewed as a villain. And if we are rewarding that kind of action on one, how do you apply that standard equally? When is it okay to hack in and when is it not okay to hack in? When is it justified and when isn't it justified? I guess it depends on your political view, doesn't it? On any given incident. This is why I'm having a lot of trouble reconciling everything as it relates to even people like Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and this guy. I'm not saying I'm opposed to the truth coming out. I'm just saying that it's not an easy ethical thing to grapple with. I don't have an easy answer to the dilemma. Is it in the public interest? What Assange did? Yeah, I would say so. And the same thing with Snowden. Was it illegal? There was, in some cases, illegal activity, I would say, to obtain those documents or to get. This is not an easy thing for me to resolve in my mind or in my heart. And I don't like to see people who are trying to do the right thing, who have maybe done the right thing by doing the wrong thing, or maybe done the right thing by doing an illegal thing, because sometimes doing an illegal or unlawful thing is not always the wrong thing. Sometimes it could be considered the right thing to do if you're doing something illegal. And I like to be consistent. I'm looking for an answer that will help me be consistent in my effort to resolve this dilemma. And I don't think there is a resolution to be had, to be honest with you. It will probably haunt me for the remainder of my days. Justin Trudeau, let's move on to him. Oh, he's long gone, I think, at this point. He's probably over in a fancy hotel room someplace, all ready to take in the coronation tomorrow of King Charles. But before leaving, he spoke at the Liberal convention, and he had Pierre Poilievre in his sights. Why? Well, because Pierre Poilievre is clearly getting to the prime minister. Poilievre, the conservative leader of the official opposition in Canada, has been chipping away and chipping away and chipping away, hammering on the Chinese donation to the Trudeau Foundation, hammering away at the prime minister's integrity. The Teflon is wearing off. A crack has emerged, has been revealed in Justin Trudeau's armor. The mainstream legacy media has even shown that they're even willing to start to shed more light on the darkest corners of the prime minister's activities. In short, the prime minister might be in just a little bit of trouble. And it shows in his approach, his decision to take a shot on almost a personal level. Well, maybe it is a personal shot at Poilievre during this address at the Liberal convention. Here's Justin saying it's time for Pierre Poilievre to wake up.
Great resources and even greater workers. But what ties this all together, what makes Canada really valuable, is we treat people with the respect and dignity they deserve. We care about equality. We care about reconciliation. We care about justice. It has never been more clear that everything is interwoven. But again, conservative politicians just don't get that. They don't connect the dots. They either say investing in Canadians is a waste of money, or that our policies are too woke. Too woke? Hey, Pierre Poilievre, it's time for you to wake up. Wake up. Wake up to the fact that a gender-balanced cabinet is a good thing, and that women fully participating in the workforce is a good thing, not something to snub when it gets a shout-out from the President of the United States in our House of Commons. Wake up to the fact that under our government, fewer persons with disabilities are facing poverty, and in fact, Canada's poverty rates has been cut in half since 2015. Wake up to the fact that more moms are building careers because we've made childcare more affordable. And by the way, when we see that women's participation in the economy has reached an all-time high, let me tell you something. $10 a day childcare is not woke policy, it's economic policy. Now, we all know that's
Blah, 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 blah. How's that for political analysis? That's probably the most intelligent thing I've said all week. Here's Poilievre with his response.
Justin, I hate to keep coming back at you with these videos, but you won't debate me in person in the House of Commons. You keep running out the back door, skipping the debates altogether. So this is my only chance. You do have words for me when I'm not around, like at your Liberal Party convention, where you criticized me for not being woke. You said that people need to wake up and accept your woke ways. Well, let's define what your woke ways are. You believe that we should ban hunting rifles and legalize crack, cocaine, and heroin, as you've done in partnership with BC's NDP. That's woke, and it's not working. You believe that we should bring in a carbon tax that goes up to over 41 cents a liter and also raises heat and grocery bills. Meanwhile, you burn jet fuel, traveling to at least 5 luxurious global destinations at everyone else's expense. That's woke. It's making everyone else broke. And then, of course, you believe in increasing the cost of the bureaucracy by 50%, only to lead to a strike. In other words, paying more for worse services. Justin, you're right. I'm not woke, but I am common sense, and I will bring home a country that works for the people who actually do the work. People in places like Newfoundland, where I am today, about to meet with some loggers. We're going to bring home lower prices by getting rid of your inflationary carbon tax and deficits. We're going to bring home powerful paychecks with lower taxes that reward hard work, and by removing your gatekeepers so that we can bring home our energy sector and resource jobs to this country rather than by giving more money to communist China and dictatorial Saudi Arabia. We're going to bring homes people can afford by clearing away the gatekeepers to build more at a lower cost. We're going to bring home safe streets by banning cocaine, crack, and heroin, not banning hunting rifles, and by locking up repeat violent offenders with jail not bail, so that our streets are once again safe. We're going to bring home freedom by ending your censorship laws, kicking out the foreign interference, and putting Canadians back in charge of their life. Justin, I know that all of these ideas are foreign to you. That Canada must feel foreign to you with how much time you spend abroad. I understand you're once again wheels up, far away. Well, I'm on the ground here in Newfoundland, about to meet with some loggers. You know what I'm going to find there? Well, not just logs, Justin, of course. I'm going to find common sense, something that's uncommon. Because you're woke, everyone else is broke. Because you're out of touch, everyone else is out of money. I'm exactly the opposite. I'm here relying on the common sense of the common people, united for our common home. Everyone else, it's your home. It's my home. It's our home. Let's bring it home.
So that's what he released. Oh, speaking of legalizing drugs, I'm not gonna dig into it tonight, but you know, you've got that place out in BC, and I think it's in Vancouver, the drugs store, real thing. Leo's mentioned it. I was sent like a promo video for the place. It made me sick to my stomach. I every day I'm just at a loss at some points for words, because it just makes no sense to me what's going on. And Poilievre is absolutely gaining ground on the PM. Trudeau's in trouble. The polls show them neck and neck, but I think the Conservatives have the upper hand here. I think momentum is on Poilievre's side. But he's being attacked from the woke left and the PPC and the freedom side, which is where a lot of his, conservative base for the Conservative Party used to be, but not all of it. The political landscape has changed, but Poilievre has the momentum. He's the guy who realistically could take Trudeau out. And, I still like what he's saying. He is not Andrew Scheer. That is for sure. He's not his predecessors. He is more like Harper. So we will see, man. We will see. Still quite a lot of political ground to cover before we get to Election Day. The election hasn't even been called yet, but you can see at that convention, they're ramping up. They're getting ready for it. Even though some people have been calling in here, Justin can stay in power forever. He's a dictator. He'll never give up. No, we have to go to the polls at some point. We have to have an election. The other thing this is the reason too, that I haven't given up on the country. You only have to go back to the 80s, even the late 80s. Look at reform. Look at the Canadian Alliance, the way the Conservative Party was ripped apart, reformed again. Look at what goes on at the provincial level. Yes, change can happen, and it can happen at the ballot box in this country. It has happened before. It can happen again with entirely new parties, with parties that are reconstituted. And by reconstituted, I mean jumbled up, recreated, new platforms created. All you have to do is get involved. That was the advice that I gave everyone when Poilievre was running for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. It looked like he was the front runner. And I said, you can join the party. Even if you're a PPC member or an NDP member or even a Liberal, if you want Poilievre to be the guy, just join the party. You get a vote. You can help put him into that position of power. And because he was able to generate a record number of new membership signups, that propelled him to victory. And he is the leader now. More than that, if you want to get involved in the party, and it's not difficult in any political party, you can get in there and you can influence the political platform that the entire party stands on. But in order to do that, you have to get in at that level to influence what the party stands for. If you're not involved in something, then you get whatever the other people who do get involved decide. And Canada is in a much better position to adopt change, political change, through the democratic process than the U.S. is, in my view. People say, no, can't change anything. It's always the same, and our votes don't count. Well, that's because if you want your vote to count, it has to start at the party level. You have to influence what the party platform is before they go into the election. The problem with the Conservative Party right now is that it's the progressive conservatives who used to, were the Joe Clark types from the past. They've infiltrated the party. They've taken over the party. So you have really all these red conservatives who are really just liberals acting like conservatives. You saw a whole whack of them running for the leadership against Poilievre. They were representing that progressive arm of what used to be the Progressive Conservative Party, now the Conservative Party of Canada. And how many different names has the Conservative Party had over the years? Conservative, Progressive Conservative, Canadian Alliance, Reform, which at one time was the official opposition, not so very long ago. It shows you that change can happen. And these elections are often so close that even just a percentage point here or there, this side or that side, can make a huge difference in who ends up in power. Canada is a very fluid country politically. And people say, oh, it's so stable. It's such a stable democracy. No, it's not. It is not. You have this strong Western separatist movement that has been there for decades. Like I referred back to an old party from the 1930s that was all about Western separatism. You have Quebec separatism that's still alive. Many people, calling for Quebec to separate. The country is ready to fly apart at any moment. And people are such a stable country. No, it's not stable. Does this feel stable to you? What is giving it stability is the monolithic voice. Because the liberals, the woke crowd, the progressives, they've taken over a big chunk of the Conservative Party, and they control the Liberal Party, and they have influence over the NDP, and the NDP is already kind of very far left anyway, very woke, and they're propping up the Liberal Party. So you have all these progressives spanning from the NDP to the Liberals and part of the Conservatives. So that's why you get this uniparty sort of feel and actual, you see it happening. It's a real thing. But you saw the shift back. A lot of PPC members, former conservatives who left the party, became PPC, a lot of them went back, got their membership cards again to vote to put Poilievre in, and you've seen the shift back over to bring the whole party, because Poilievre's in there. It's more conservative now than it was under O'Toole. It's more conservative than it was under Andrew Scheer. And yeah, Maxime probably should have been the leader of the Conservative Party. But I wouldn't say that the PPC is entirely conservative now either, because you have a lot of NDP members, you have a lot of conservatives, you have some old liberals in there too. You even have communists and anarchists. You've got people from every political stripe in that party now. and it's very populist, but in terms of where it stands on issues like Maxime keeps the climate change thing in his lane, right? But I'll tell you, there are a lot of people in the party, members, who on that issue, you're going to get division. There are a lot of issues where within the PPC, you're going to get a lot of division. It's going to be very difficult for the PPC and the freedom movement and the populist movement in general to remain cohesive. It's almost impossible for them to remain cohesive. It's the same thing in the US. All through history, populist movements, populist political movements, when they kind of come together and form something that has some power, it tends to fly apart because it's usually one or two issues that just bring them together, the populists. But then, because if you look at like what happens is they don't agree on all these issues. There's some things that put them diametrically opposed to each other, often economic issues where the goal is the same, but the approach is entirely different because the populist movement will attract a lot of conservatives and a lot of socialists over, like in this case, civil liberties issues, but the economic issues, the way they approach it. I want higher taxes. I want lower taxes. It blows up. Very hard to keep it together. I don't know what kind of glue Maxime might be try to use heading into the next election, but he's going to have to find something because you're seeing deep divisions, infighting all over the place right now. Very hard to keep everything together. And the approach very, very different from one group to another. It's the same thing all through the US. That's why I said before, that's why Lori was on here the last 2 nights, whatever night it was, talking about RFK Jr. He needs to switch parties in order to win. He needs to not run as a Democrat. He needs to run as a Republican. Well, he could do that because why? He isn't really a Democrat. He's a populist candidate by today's standards. Actually, by any standards, he's a populist candidate. So is Bernie Sanders, really. So is Tulsi Gabbard. So is Donald Trump. And yet on many issues, they are diametrically opposed. But on certain issues and the way they appeal to the voters, they're populists. There's a strong populist movement across Canada and the United States right now. But all through history, it has been very difficult to keep it together. That being said, again, I haven't given up on the country, folks, because I've seen it just, within the last 30, 40 years. Even at the provincial level in various provinces, you can get serious change at the ballot box. So get involved if you want change. And it doesn't mean that you have to, I'm just telling you, there are new parties being formed right now at the provincial level in various provinces, and the Conservative Party itself, you're seeing it shift from the left back over to the right. And I know everybody says, oh, no, they're all committed to the World Health Organization and global. I still haven't seen any definitive proof to show me that Pierre Poilievre is actually a member of or ever was WEF. Show me. And I've followed that link in the Wayback Machine and all. That was not definitive proof. It just wasn't. Regardless, Maxime Bernier has been there. So judge them by their actions, not just by their words, and give them a chance, I guess. What else can we do? I don't like any of the options, honestly. I don't know who the heck to really vote for. I'm just telling you, we can get change. It's happened before and not very long ago in this country. In the States, much more difficult. A two-party system, the Democrats control who it is that they put in as a candidate. There's really no democracy within that party. I don't think the Democrats actually believe in their own name. I don't think they believe in democracy at all, because I don't think they're actually Democrats at all. There's something else. Starts with an F. Just like the liberals in this country don't really stand for classical liberalism. I think they stand for something that starts with an F. Corporatism, corporate fascism. It's on full display. I'm not so sure that the conservatives are any better. But what, you know, if you want change, man, get in and take over the party. That's the way to do it. Take over the party. The grand prize in this whole thing, honestly, is the Conservative Party of Canada. If you want to affect change, take over that party. It has the brand. The people will vote for it because it's recognizable. Get involved. Take over the party. And when I say take over the party, I mean bring in enough people to affect change so that when they have their convention and they develop their platform as a party, what are they going to run on? You get the issues front and center. And if you're worried about these WEF, World Economic Forum, globalism issues, then you make sure that you turn the platform into something that is nationalistic and not globalistic. Nationalism, not globalism. Take over the party. That's what Trump did in the States with the Republican Party. He just took it over, brought in MAGA, and turned it into a populist party. That's what it is now. Will they win? I don't know. Will they win this time around? I don't know. But, Maxime with the PPC, I had high hopes for the PPC. Struggle. Is it possible that they could make, huge strides in the next election? Yeah, it's possible. But I don't see the PPC realistically forming government. If you elected PPC members, they could help to prop up a conservative government. Anyway, I think you guys are getting the picture. Enough of that. Stay with me when we come back. More stuff on this FU Friday.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So over the past week, we've seen more economic turmoil, another bank fail, First Republic Bank, another big bank, about 82 branches, I think, that they have. And now what are we seeing? We're seeing that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is investigating the conduct of First Republic Bank executives. And they're doing this before the seizure and sale to J.P. Morgan Chase and Company. Basically, this is, again, kind of bailing out, another bailout that's sort of taking place with this huge bank in the U.S. This received a little bit of media attention in the past week, but nowhere near the attention that it deserves. This is just more evidence of an economy that is in a lot of trouble, more evidence that the US dollar is in a lot of trouble, that inflation is out of control, that they printed way too much money, and that the banking system is under huge stress. We've seen also reports within the last week that even Canadian banks are seeing some negative repercussions in the wake of, Silicon Valley Bank and now First Republic failing. The SEC is looking into whether any members of the then executive team of First Republic improperly traded on inside information, according to a new report. So this development comes a day after U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren accused First Republic executives of mismanagement in a letter to its former CEO, Michael Roffler, and raised questions on the failed lender's risk management as well as pay and bonuses. Regulators have seized First Republic Bank, and they've agreed to buy the majority of its assets earlier this week. Sorry, they seized assets of First Republic Bank, and JP Morgan has agreed to buy the majority of the assets. And this makes it the largest U.S. bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis. And it's getting less media attention, public attention, than the Silicon Valley Bank did, the failure of that. JP Morgan and the SEC have not commented on this. First Republic did not comment on this yet this week either. But this is almost like a sidebar to the much larger issue of bank failures in general and the failure of this bank. It's, you know, they're trying to, I think, find a scapegoat by blaming these particular executives from this particular bank, when the larger issue is money and how much money has been printed, and the result of the money printing is eroded value in your savings. It's even if your money is guaranteed from a bank failure like that, we all end up paying in the end, one way or another, because somebody's got to pay when the banks go down. And instead of when they bail the banks out and by compensating those who had money in there, what was really doing is, you know, who the real insurer is? It's us as taxpayers. We end up paying for it. It's just that the cost of that is spread out across the population through public spending. They take the public purse, which is our money as taxpayers, and they bail out those with the deposits. They back it up. We're the ones backing it up, folks. So you pay one way or another. We all end up paying. The whole thing, the whole system, I think, is under pressure because, and a lot of stuff just seems like it's just become a joke. And in fact, that's exactly what happened to the head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. And this is back in January, but this is now becoming public. More people learning about this fake phone call that was made by these two pranksters from Russia. Again, they've done this kind of thing before. I think these are the same two guys who managed to dupe Bush with a phone call where they pretended to be Zelensky. Well, they've done it again. This was back in January where one of them faked being Vladimir Zelensky, and they phoned up Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, and they had an actual Zoom recorded call with the guy. And I think he was being more honest about the current state of the economy and his economic policies and the U.S. economic policies with these guys in this conversation than he was when he was testifying before Congress. Here, check this out.
Treasury Department's business, not the Fed.
Это so real person in the world. So your opinion is really important for me. So I would like to ask you, what is your views? How things is going in the US, and how did the crisis hit the US? And first, how did it impact on the world economy?
We have a problem with high inflation through food and energy costs, for example, and also just disruption of supply lines and disruption of really the whole world order that we've had for so many years. So China is reopening, and that's going to have positive effects on global growth. It might have add some added pressure to inflation, but that remains.
I didn't know that. And politicians or other world leaders can just call up the head of the Fed
in your
and have a conversation.
Critical
like this.
Struggle against the invader.
But my question is about your opinion. Why do you think Russia was able to overcome the sanctions policy? I'm told that sanctions are hitting the European economy and the Eurozone more than Russia, so more than we expected too. So other sanctions working or something wrong? Russia's GDP has grown, and it is now if I'm not wrong, the 9th in the world. So how do you assess the policy of the Central Bank of Russia, for example? So they managed to save the ruble. Why?
Yeah, so I should say that in our system, in our governmental system, it's really the administration, which is to say, we're not part of the administration. We're an independent central bank. So the Treasury Department, Janet Yellen, and the White House, of course, President Biden and his people, they really create, devise, and enforce the sanctions.
Yeah, I agree.
We have a fairly modest role in that. But I would say a couple of things. First, just you're right. It seems like the Russians have been able to avoid the harshest application of the sanctions. I know we all know the head of the central bank in Russia. She's quite capable. She was. I'd be very surprised if she was supportive of the war at all. But she's quite good at her job. She's extraordinarily capable. We know her from international circles. For years she's been attending meetings of central banks, and she's quite well thought of as a technical matter, quite knowledgeable and smart. So she will have done things to enable the Russians to avoid sanctions to the maximum extent possible. Although we still think that the sanctions are hurting them, just not as much as we would have hoped.
And I think, but do you think it's only job of Russian central bank, or maybe it's also deserved of, or it's a work of Russian government too?
Oh, very much both. Very much both. Obviously they're doing everything they can to sell their oil to the Chinese and the Indians, and they're buying it. So, but yes, they've worked. We've imposed sanctions across, essentially every economic activity we can touch. We being the elected government, the administration, not the Fed. And they're doing everything they can to avoid those, and they can avoid some of it, but not all of it.
On your opinion, which countries also suffered more from recent political situation and in economy?
Well, I would say not the United States. We have our own energy here, and so it's really not us. I mean, it's going to be the Eastern European. You know better than I do, but it's going to be Poland and the Eastern European countries that are right there in close to Ukraine. I would think they're the ones who have suffered. I'm aware that Ukraine's suffering is. I mean, I can't personally experience it, but we all see what's happening. People like me just want to support you in any way we can. But I have limited ways to do that in my professional job.
So I just talked to Christine Lagarde recently, and she told that they have already tried to minimize inflation. It's they got already around 7% inflation. It's a prediction for them, but there are a lot of many countries. So what do you have your prediction about inflation in the US?
I do, yes. Our policy rate quite a lot last year in order to slow the growth of the US economy and enable inflation to come down, and we think that's working now. And I think we're very much on track to get inflation back down to our target, which is 2%. A lot depends on what happens in Ukraine on that, and what happens with Russia and their energy, and also with the opening of China.
If the rate is raised further, the standard of living of the population will fall. So how much should it fall in order for the Fed to stop raising the rate?
We've raised rates quite a lot, and the market is already pricing in two more quarter percentage point rate hikes. We'll look around after we make those two, and we'll say, should we do any more? And then the question will be, how long do we keep rates at this level? And I think we'll keep them there for quite some time.
Because the decrease in inflation is clearly less than we would like. And if it starts to rise, is the Fed ready to raise the rate sharply again?
Yes, of course, we will. If we need to raise our rates more, then we'll absolutely do that. We raised rates very sharply, historically sharply last year to get to the place we're at now.
No, in other words, does the Fed think that inflation should be reduced to 2% at any cost?
A lot of truth in here, man.
Well, so we think we do need to reduce inflation to 2%. That is our obligation. But I think the path there, as we walk that path down to 2%, we'll also be considering, not at this point, but a little further on, we'll be considering, the effects on the labor market as well.
Well, so you mentioned unemployment. The Fed previously had disagreements with the Department of Labor, if I'm not wrong. So regarding the assessment of unemployment, so the Fed believed that the Department of Labor was improving indicators. So how was the situation? Because the Department of Labor says, as always, that everything is fine and the length of the working week in hours is being reduced. It was, if I'm not wrong, 34.4 in November. 34.5 hours were expected in December, but it turned out to be 34.3, a sign of an intensification of the crisis. And we can say that the PMI indicates that are falling below 50.
Sure. You also pointed out that, though, to the average work week, there are some modest signs that the labor market is weakening. And for example, the number of hours worked per week ticked down a very small amount. That is a sign of a slight softening in labor market conditions. That is true. In addition, wages, which have been very, very high, we track wages quite carefully. The increases, there are still very high increases, but the increases have been declining a little bit. And that's a good thing, because too high wage inflation causes price inflation. Our mandate is for price inflation, not wage inflation. And it's older people in particular have dropped out of the labor force, have retired, and they don't want to come back because they don't want to take any risk on COVID. But the U.S. labor force has really shrunk since COVID in a way that's very surprising. And so we have a labor shortage in a way. We have a shortage of available workers, and that's part of what makes it hard to get inflation down. But what we're going to find is that growth in 2022 was positive but modest. It was subdued.
So that whole thing is available. I think you can find it on Rumble under CNN B News. I'll give you the link here. You can actually go and watch this whole thing. It's a prank. It's not a real thing. This guy was imitating Vladimir Zelensky. There, I put it in the chat there. And here, you know what? I'll go over and I'll put it in the main Rumble channel chat as well, so that if you guys want to see this, you can. It's funny, kind of, not as comical as the one that they did with George Bush, but I don't know if it's journalism, but it should be. They got him to speak more candidly than anything I've seen him say in public. He also later talks about the debt ceiling debate. He makes it clear that they are going to attack the inflation problem with degrowth, pulling back so that you get less economic expansion. I say they've got it all wrong when they pull back like that. Yes, you get degrowth, when you restrict the money supply and take steps by raising interest rates, combine those two things, and then you have less economic output, you create more unemployment, which throws more people onto the unemployment rolls, which forces the government to again give out more free money. I don't see that being a positive thing for people. I don't agree with the approach at all in the way that they're trying to attack inflation. In my opinion, you need more growth. You need more productivity. Productivity increase. That's the key to it all. It's not just to get more people working. They're not thinking about it properly. They're thinking that if you have more growth, then more people will work and they will make more money and spend more money, and that will fuel more inflation because you'll have more people working with more money to spend. That's not the key to the whole thing. The key is productivity, to increase the amount of goods and services going into the market, to increase the supply of goods and services in order to bring pricing down, make the country more productive, sell more abroad, especially, export more, generate more wealth, and then that additional productivity and wealth can generate more tax revenue, more overall wealth for the country. That wealth can then be used to pay down debt. And because you have more supply of goods and services, overall prices will fall because more supply puts downward pressure on pricing. If you restrict output, you restrict supply. You see, you have less. If there's less potatoes, the price goes up. If you have more potatoes, the price comes down. So produce more potatoes, but do it efficiently. And you get lower prices. Export your excess, service the market, use the money that comes back in from your exports to pay down debt. But don't cut people off at the knees economically because people will suffer. And that's where we're going. Not a good plan. That's why the economy is in such shambles.
Hello, world. Are you awake? Uniting humankind by liberating millions of minds at a time. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Have you seen this? The coronation of the king is tomorrow. And Mars, the Wrigley Mars company, my dad would not be happy me saying that. I'll explain why in a sec. But the Wrigley Mars company, they made a chocolate bust of King Charles. Have you seen it? Here it is. Life-size bust. Oh, it's getting worldwide attention. Isn't this sweet? It's a work of art. Commissioned by the firm Mars Wrigley to celebrate the king's forthcoming coronation. There he is, with his big ears. Made using nearly 3,000 melted Celebrations chocolates. It weighs, how many kilograms is that? 30 something, I think. It's huge. It weighs a lot. It's solid too, not like that cheap chocolate that we give our kids on Easter, where the bunnies are all hollow. You know, you get those great big giant bunnies and then you get it home and it's all hollow inside. You go, oh, where's the chocolate, man? Where's the beef? So this, they're showing this thing, how it was made. Everybody's so excited. Yeah. And how about the Legoland thing? Legoland, they made a little, like a Legoland mock-up of what the coronation ceremony is going to look like. Looks like this, which is pretty cool. Oh, look at the little flag on the little building. And look at the coach. And it's gonna, yeah. Oh, and then here comes the giant man. Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. And he puts the little royal people in their royal place in front of the royal palace on the royal balcony, doing all the royal things. There's all the royals, and the peasants are down below looking up at the royals. Yes, they are. Pretty cool, though. I mean, really well done. Lego, they do some pretty cool stuff. They have whole teams, right, of people who build, Lego stuff. And I really like this stuff. They do these life-size cars. And you see them, they make the rounds at the car shows too. Takes a lot of skill. They do all kinds of cool things like that. They have teams, professional Lego builders, to make these giant Lego displays, and they put them on display at trade shows. I've seen a couple of Lamborghinis, like full-size Lamborghinis. Lamborghini isn't alive, so I don't know what you mean by life-size, but it's full scale, 1-to-1. And that little miniature Legoland royal coronation thing, that's pretty cool. But a lot of people not too enthused about the coronation coming up. United Kingdom Republicans are hoping this coronation will be the last, actually. So King Charles III will travel by gilded coach through streets swathed in red, white, and blue Union flags, and will go past a warning from history. At Trafalgar Square stands a large bronze statue of King Charles I, the 17th century monarch, deposed by Parliament and executed in 1649. So tomorrow, more than 1,500 protesters will be dressed in yellow. They're doing that because they want to be very visible during the coronation, and they plan to gather beside that statue of King Charles I, and they will chant, "Not my king," as King Charles III makes his way past them tomorrow. So Graham Smith is the chief executive of the anti-monarchist group Republic, and he will be out there, and he says that they're going to try and keep the atmosphere light, but he makes it clear their aim is to make it impossible to ignore their political point of view. He says the coronation is, in his words, a celebration of a corrupt institution, and it is a celebration of one man taking a job that he has not earned. So that's I think a growing point of view. And I think the most recent polling in Canada indicates that about half the population in Canada would like to sever ties with the monarchy. So it's always an issue of debate in this country. Do the royals earn their keep? Well, they're a large symbolic thing now. And debate on that rages today. I will say this, if you're the king, or even if you're the prime minister these days, especially Justin Trudeau, because he is so unpopular. But if you're in a position like that, you kind of live life in a fishbowl, don't you? You can't really go out in public without security. If you're the president of the United States, you can't go anywhere without Secret Service protecting you, even after you're no longer the president. And it's very difficult to just kind of walk the streets. King Charles, could you imagine? I'll just think I'll go for a stroll down Main Street. No. So they do live life in a fishbowl, in a way, the royal family. But yeah, I think, they do certainly live a life of privilege. or a life of opulence, but they do have royal duties that they need to perform. Speaking of a fishbowl, goldfish bowl, we talked about getting a goldfish, and I'm going to get a fish. We got a $5 donation yesterday, and I appreciate that very much. That's going to help us rescue a fish from the fish orphanage. And we're going to make a political statement by broadcasting in long form with a fish cam on the main YouTube channel when we come off our ban. It will be a political statement to show what kind of things you're allowed to talk about on YouTube. We're going to put up a picture of a fish. You know, some of their most popular channels feature content just like that. Aquariums, the sound of falling rain, how-to videos, cats chasing balls of yarn. That's what YouTube's good for. So we'll just give them what they want. That'll be the start of things. But then I was thinking, this is an opportunity for us all to learn some political lessons, not just in the vein that I was speaking of. We're going to create a whole fish society. And as we do this, we will be exploring together all kinds of issues that come with the formation and maintenance of a just society, a good society, a good country. What kind of community, society are we going to create with Fred the fish? What kind of rights will Fred have? What obligations do we have as we care for Fred? What kind of society will it be? Will Fred even know who his masters are? These are questions that we will be exploring together. And it starts even right now, even before we go and rescue whoever Fred will be, whichever fish we rescue from the fish orphanage. The question is, how big will this country be that we create with or for Fred? Will it be a country of the fish, by the fish, for the fish? Or will it be something deeper and darker, where Fred is not even aware who's pulling the strings above his aquarium? Do you see where this is going, folks? This will give us an opportunity to explore very important issues in a microcosmic way. I think it's going to be fun. And it starts right now. How large should Fred's fish tank be? Should he get a bowl? Should he get a 100-gallon tank? What kind of life will we give Fred? What choice does Fred have? What choice do we have in this? Well, I guess we're in total control. Do I get to have dictatorial control over the size of Fred's country or world, his society? Or do we collectively decide? A 5-gallon world, a 20-gallon world, a fishbowl world. What kind of fishbowl? Does Fred get a say? How do we ask Fred? Does it even matter? Will he even know? Will we be kind to Fred? Will we create a kind and merciful, philanthropic society for Fred? A socialistic kind of society? Will Fred earn his keep, or will we need to keep Fred? What will Fred contribute? These are important questions that we will explore together. Oh, and look at this. Who is speaking now? I got to check this out. I'm not sure if this is live or not, but it's popped up in my feed. I'm sorry to do this to you, but listen to this.
And I get to the
Now,
prime minister's office,
Clinton and Freeland.
we're sitting across the table, as you do in these so-called bilats, and he is staring at me. And
Happening now
I'm
live
starting
at
to
the
get a little
Liberal Convention.
self-conscious, like, do I have, like food in my teeth? I mean, what's happening? And I finally said, Mr. Prime Minister, is there something you want to say? And he goes, well, I was told if your hair was pulled back, you were in a bad mood. I said, no, I'm just an inept hair person. But it is, you have to laugh about it because otherwise you'll cry, because it takes up so much time and energy. And you have to just live with the fact that, I remember I was in India one day and I got, something in my eye and I couldn't wear my contacts. So I put on my glasses. Front page stories. What did it mean that Hillary Clinton wore her glasses? It meant I got something in my eye. And you can't, again, take it seriously because it's so ridiculous most of the time, but you have to accept the fact that that's a double standard and it's going to affect you if you're a woman in politics.
Sadly, this is true. And I apologize for all the terrible pictures. I'll tell you one funny story, very short story in response. There was once some news story about the color of dress I wore, kind of analyzing what was the sophisticated message being sent. And my sister sent me an email saying, ha, Crestu, they really don't know you. If they knew you, they would know the color of dress you wear depends entirely on what is the only thing in your closet that is clean. This is true. Our time has come to an end. I know. Well, we could ask the secretary to stay longer, but I think it would not be fair to her. This is her set. Yeah. I really, just in conclusion, would like to thank you so much, Madam Secretary. I'd like to thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, I want to say the things I'm thanking you for. So let's thank her for that incredibly important and timely warning about defending our democracy. Let's, if we remember one thing from what we heard today, let's remember that. And I do so much, very both personally for myself, but for every woman in this room and for every woman in Canada, want to thank you for, I was going to say tirelessly, I'm sure you got tired, but for just keeping on going, breaking that trail. The branches are hitting you. You're getting tired. You keep on going. You are such an example, such a role model to us. You have done so much.
Thank you so much.
Again, there's some witty, just some political wit from me. Most intelligent thing I've said since the last intelligent thing I said earlier in the program. Clinton and Freeland. I guess they had to bring her in because Justin's over at the coronation. Well, he did speak. We got that. Deep fakes. Let's talk about those. Defending our democracy. Sorry we missed the earlier part, gee. But I'm glad we got, to the end there where they were talking about, their dresses and stuff. Like that's important stuff. Deep fake pornography could soon be illegal in America. Yes, it's true. A new piece of legislation is being introduced this week, and it could make sharing non-consensual artificially pornography generated from artificial intelligence, I guess any faked pornography, illegal in the United States. It could open up new legal avenues for people who are impacted. So this comes from Congressman Joe Morrell, and this is called the Preventing Deepfakes of Intimate Images Act. And he says this bill aims to make sure there are both criminal penalties as well as civil liabilities for anyone who posts without someone's consent images of them appearing to be involved in pornography. I guess you'll have to define pornography. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. That could be problematic right off the hop. The rise of AI-generated content has exploded, over the last few years, and that's because people have access to new tools, technology that make it pretty easy to create some of these very realistic, synthetic images and even videos. We've seen deep fakes of the Pope, deep fakes of Biden. We've run deep fakes of Polyev here that look fantastic, of Trudeau reading his favorite book, How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom. And there was last year, very controversial use of a deepfake of Zelensky telling his troops to surrender. And that should really get people's attention, honestly, because it shows you how good they're getting. You could sort of tell that Zelensky wasn't the real deal in this deep fake, but it was pretty darn good. And we've talked about that here too. When the deep fakes get good enough that people won't be able to tell the difference, you could easily fake out the public. You could fake somebody out. You could do a Zoom meeting with a deep fake, just like the one we saw with Jerome Powell and that radio podcast host from Russia who pranked him. And you could get people to do things that you want them to do without them realizing they weren't even talking to the real person. You could start wars, end wars, create economic upheaval. Imagine the things that can be done or could be done, especially in the future as the technology gets better and better and better. I noticed too that when we were running a couple of the songs on this program that were generated with artificial intelligence, mimicking the voices of well-known musicians, stars, the stuff sounded pretty good. You could kind of tell that it was computer generated, but pretty darn close and really, really good quality. But when it was run on here, we got copyright hits on YouTube. And I thought, how do you copyright something that you never created to begin with? I guess if you pay for the technology and you push the button to make it generate something, and then you own it because you pushed the button and you owned the technology, but you didn't actually create it. Is that even proper? Are there any ethics that come with that? Owning the copyright on something that you didn't even create? I suppose you can own the rights, but who did you buy it from? Nobody. A computer made it. Well, I owned the computer that made it, I suppose. It just seems a little strange to me that you're claiming intellectual or property rights on something, or copyright rights on something you didn't actually make or create. But I suppose even a business or an entity, well, even then, you're adding your labor, your mental energy to it. I suppose you have to input the raw data at some point in order to get the artificial intelligence engine to create the music or the picture or the video that you're creating. But this is opening up a whole new range of ethical and legal issues that I think we're going to need to address in the years ahead, really in the decades. And we're seeing it even here with this new proposed law that is going to be before us, introduced next week. We'll have to wrestle with these issues as a society. I wonder if Fred will need to deal with these kinds of things in his society. Will there be a deep fake of Fred? We could easily make one. We could fake out the whole world with a fake Fred. Anyway, what else do we have before we go to the phones tonight? I want to make sure. Oh, yes, there was this explosion at a refinery in or near Houston. Let's go back and take a look at some of this. Here we go. Let's see what I can find out here. I'll bring in the most up-to-date stuff. This is footage from just maybe an hour or two ago, I think.
There off of a truck. It's a stable one because it's been maintained the entire time.
One person injured, hospitalized after a Shell chemical plant explosion in Deer Park. This from KPRC Houston.
Urgency. I did see
Channel
a
2.
port emergency management vehicle go by. I did see an air pollution vehicle with regards to Harris County come by here, and I believe I did see one vehicle tied to Deer Park, first responders vehicle. I did see an ambulance also about 30 minutes ago down the way here, but that's it. I haven't seen any other major units. Obviously they're all inside there fighting this as best as possible, but in terms of the number of men, I don't know exactly how many. But keep in mind, Keith, you do have all of these areas, all of these fire departments up and down the ship channel go through vast training throughout the course of the year. They're experienced in times like these. They practice for times like these to ensure that the public and the workers in that plant are as safe as possible in the most dire of situations.
Mario, real quick, if you turn around and face the plant, it'd be on your left-hand side. Does it appear that we're starting to get smoke starting to get a little thicker again, and a couple of flames looking up a little bit more?
You know, it's been doing that every once in a while, Keith. I understand what you're trying to say, where you see it kind of thin out, and then all of a sudden you get some more black, but now we're seeing some white there too, right? You can look over, you see some white smoke, which is a good sign.
Yeah, I can imagine there are going to be flares for the next couple
complex
hours.
fires.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, these are complex fires. They're not easy, and they're going to have different characteristics at the various vantage points. As they put out one area, you might have another area they got to go tackle, and it might be flaring up. But the good news is that smoke is nothing like what we saw earlier.
Okay, so we'll just bring that audio down. So here's what I know. This is the most recent information. So we have like 5 hurt after this fire, maybe more. I think it might even be as many as 8 at this point. The fire erupted at this petrochemical plant in the Houston area earlier today. It sent this huge black plume of smoke up into the air. It could be seen for miles and miles around. The Harris County Sheriff's Office says the fire, it was at this Shell USA facility in Deer Park. It's a suburb east of Houston. And people are being asked to stay away from the area because, of course, they're still dealing with, very serious situation there, very volatile. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality say that they are responding to this, and they have deployed air monitoring assets from the Houston, Beaumont, and Austin offices to support the local response there. No comment at this point from Shell officials. Officials say that facility fires are not uncommon in this area because of the strong presence of the petrochemical industry. Back in March, an explosion and fire erupted at a facility owned by INEOS Phenol in nearby Pasadena, Texas. That left one person injured. And a fire back in 2019 at a facility owned by Intercontinental Terminals Company. That burned for several days, and it didn't cause any injuries, but it did trigger air quality warnings. Texas, still a big oil state. So we'll update that story, I expect probably tomorrow, as we learn more about the full impact of that and get you more information on the number of people injured and the full extent of the possible environmental fallout from that as well in the Houston area. All right, folks, that gets us to 8:45 p.m. Stay with me. I'll get the phone lines set up, and we will let the festivities on this FU Friday begin.
Maverick News. The world is watching. We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! To bugs!
Okay, phone lines. They're open. Here's the number to call.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
Back when I worked in mainstream media, if you said the F word, that was an instant death sentence. You were going to get canned for sure. I saw an anchor say the F word on air by accident one time when this person didn't think they were on air, but the microphone was hot and they got themselves canned. And here I am on this program tonight And we're doing a whole segment called F You Friday. But that's not my fault. That's your fault. Because you guys wanted this. I never thought I'd see the day. And yet somehow I'm so looking forward to this. Let's go to the phones. I'm not going to tell you what I'm seeing on the screen. Brace yourselves, folks. If you have kids, either get out the earplugs or put them away someplace in a room out of earshot, because I think the man of the hour is about to unload. Here we go. Okay, sir. The floor is yours.
You got the mouths that salt a man without a plan, the master of all fuck yous, coming to you on Fuck You Friday. And this is actually history, because I've always dreamed of the day where there'll be a media platform where I could just go tell everybody to go fuck themselves on Friday. Okay, and this is how it worked out for me today on Friday. I went into fucking work. My boss called me in for a meeting. I told him to fuck you. He said, "You're fucking fired." I said, "Fuck you." I quit. I was taking my toolbox out the door. He came out and said, "What the fuck you doing, man? I really fucking need you." I said, "I need some more motherfucking money." He said, "I'll give you another fucking raise." I put my toolbox back in, and here I am. I'm still fucking working now. That's the way my day went.
Good. Well, good for you.
So I did graduate. I did graduate from the University of Kentucky, and I studied in fuckery. Okay, and that's in southern Kentucky state. Okay, and there's a course you can take on fuckery, because that word is a word that can be used with just about every fucking thing. Not just Frank's fucking Red Hot. You can put that shit on every fucking thing. Here we go. It could be used very nice in a sexual way, where you meet a girl at a bar and you say, "Hey, I want to fuck you." Or she says, "Hey, I want to fuck you." Okay? You could use it in anger. You could get people pissed off with the word. You could use it as a funny word. I like it as a funny word, and I use it as a funny word. And, you know, we could start off with the beginning of this week with Fucker Carlson. Okay, I love him. He's going to make more fucking money, Rick. And, you know, 100 million sounds like a lot of fucking money, but there's a lot of soccer players making $500 million fucking dollars. So, yeah. 100 million's fuck all in today's world. Okay, for what was it, a 5-year contract? Big fucking deal. We pay hockey players and football players and baseball fucking players more money. So let's move on, because we're going to start at the beginning of the week here with Lieutenant Fuck Rogers. Okay. Yeah. That fucking guy, he's worked for the FBI and tells fucking NSA, fuck this guy here. He's going to lead you down the same fucking rabbit hole as Ukraine, you fuck. Don't open your fucking eyes. The guy's a fucking fraud. Plain and simple. And people are buying into it. Send an SOS. Stick your fucking SOS up your Fuck Rogers fucking ass. And everybody out there watching and listening, this is the time to donate. Donate to free fucking speech. This is free speech. Okay, and Bonagino, you're going to like this one if this ever gets to you, motherfucker. And it's coming from me, the mouth of the South. The WHO, that piece of shit in the fucking WHO. Oh, we're out of COVID, but don't worry. If there's any more pandemics, we'll do exactly the same thing we did again. I highly fucking doubt it, you fucking idiot, because that's when all shit's going to hit the fucking fan. Plain and simple. Yeah. It was a fucking fraud from the get-go. 350 billion Canadian fucking dollars disappeared in a hurry. Moderna or fucking Pfizer, since we're on Rumble, I could say it. Yeah, okay. The money that these cocksuckers made, $100 billion fucking dollars, one company. Sickening. And we're moving down the list. We're getting to King Pedo. You know, that fucking King Charles, his fucking coronation. Yeah, we're going to throw a for his coronation. He'll probably be dead in fucking 9 months. We'll be paying for a funeral. The fuck? Where's his Raytown fucking cousin there, Prince Andrews? Is he going to be there? Or is it just going to be the Trudeau family?
Good question.
Fuck Trudeau. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck, they can all eat each other's fucking assholes if all I care. And they probably would if you gave them the fucking chance. Now, Clinton in the freeloader. That's what I call Christina. Christina fucking freeloader in Clinton. What did you pay this crazy bitch, Clinton, to fucking come here and speak on your behalf. And she says, "Oh, the only time she pulled her hair back was probably when she was giving somebody a blowjob at the end of the fucking day, and it wasn't Bill Clinton." So that's the way it is, right?
Oh my God!
So you can use that word. You can use that word "fuck" any way you want, Rick. I think "fuck Friday" is a great time for people to unleash. Get the word out. It's only a word. You can use it any way you want. Like I said, I use it as part of my language to be funny. Now you can use it. There's biblical ways to use it, like Jesus fuck. Okay, I'm not going to go there, but you can use it. Holy fucking Moses. Okay, I've heard it every way. Okay, when it comes biblical, people say, "Oh, use it in the vein of the Lord's mouth," or whatever you want to call it. Fuck off. It's only a word. I know a priest. You think I'm swearing bad? I know a priest, and so do you, Rick. His name was passed away, Father Paul Charbonneau. Now, this priest here took the podium, and I've never heard a priest swear. You think I swear bad? Fucking Father Paul Charbonneau. This guy had a mouth on him like a fucking trucker, and you know what? He could relate. He related to people, and people caught on to it, and they're like, "This fucking guy is brilliant." And he was brilliant. One of the best priests I ever seen. And he helped a lot of people through their darkest hours when it came to recovering fucking alcoholics and drug addicts and whatever, right? But that line of people, he helped a lot of people. He saved a lot of fucking lives.
He did.
He saved more lives than he did. And you know who he is, right, Rick?
I do, yeah, from Brentwood, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's
helped thousands. They should have named him Saint fucking Leonard at the end of the day. Yeah. Oh, there I go again, using the biblical. But you know what? He's a great guy to know. And, you know, he told me some things. So I'm going to leave it because I know people want to call in. It is Fuck Friday. Hopefully people are filling up the donations. I finally figured out how to send you some fucking money again through a Rumble Rant, and I did it twice today, and I'm going to become a member. I see David Doyle became a member. Thank you, David. Rick needs it. The show needs it. The show's going to go to the fucking top. I guarantee it with Fuck You Fridays, because like this is out of the extraordinary that you'd be able to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you, Leo. This is, I never thought I'd be sitting here doing anything like this when I started my career as a cub reporter back in the day. But here I am on a news program on FU Friday.
And you know what, Rick? We're not fucking done yet. You being a news reporter, okay? Now let's say May 2-4 is coming up. Let's say you went camping with your best fucking friend, okay? And it was a long weekend. You've known this motherfucker since you guys are 2 years old. And you woke up with Vaseline around your asshole. Would you go on the nightly news and say it? Would you tell anybody? Simple question, yes or no? Answer.
No. Probably not.
You wouldn't tell anybody? What are you doing for May 2 for? You want to go camping?
Are you bringing Vaseline? Oh my God.
So anything goes on Fuck You Fridays. Just remember, this is trailblazing here. This is grassroots. You're not going to find it anywhere else. You can try and copy the show. Good fucking luck. You ain't got the mouth of the South. And as for Rob Zombie, that's a beautiful big fucking fish video he sent. He put it up on YouTube. Okay, that fucking fish has got a bigger mouth than the mouth of the fucking South. Great job. Outstanding. With that being said, let's let the next fucker get on.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the call. This is the most unusual show I think I've ever done. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's move on here. And who do we have on the line next? You want to talk about King Charles?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
He's Prince Charles at the moment. Mm-hmm. And in 12 hours, he's going to be King Charles.
Yeah.
Yes. He's, I remember, I'm English, so I know a bit of his history. When he was 16 years old, that was the first time he ever came to anyone's notice, apart from being photographed as a cute toddler for Hello magazine. At the age of 16, he took his exams in the school he was in. He didn't pass a single one of the exams. And it wasn't just a story because he failed everything. The story was that the school he went to was under pressure to say he'd passed some of the exams, age 16. But the school refused. And that was a news story back in the day for King Charles. And then he was sent to, I don't know, a technical college for a year. That meant his failed exams plus a failed year of being at technical college meant that he could go to St Andrews University in Scotland, which is traditionally where they're sent. He carried on failing at everything he ever did until in the 1960s, he became friends with Jimmy Savile. I won't go into too much detail. I'm sure all of the people in chat know the name of Jimmy Savile. He even published a book where he confessed that he was a necrophiliac. He would tell people at BBC parties that he'd come from a local morgue where he'd been having sex with, in his words, a fit, dead 12-year-old.
Are you sure about that?
It's in his book, in his own published book. His book cannot be bought in many places now, but that is a quote from his book at a BBC party where he was boasting to colleagues because he was best friends with Prince Charles. He had complete police protection. His police protection was run via Leeds police station, which meant every time Jimmy Savile's name was mentioned in any criminal capacity, his name was forwarded to Leeds police station, which took care of the details.
Well, actually, you know what? I just looked it up, and here's an article about that from People magazine. So I was not aware of this, but I think you're certainly onto some facts.
The association between them was at least 35 years, and this is almost funny because Prince Charles, soon to be King Charles, was such an idiot. He came under the influence of Jimmy Savile to such a degree that it was recently released that letters between the two of them contained advice from Jimmy Savile on public relations for the royal family, and Charles, being the whatever special person that he is, brought the letters from Jimmy Savile to his mother, the Queen.
Wow. Well, it's certainly yeah. I don't even know what to say. When these people who live, these royals, there's no way they can relate to regular people, and they live in a completely different world.
You reported the Not My King.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's on a load of T-shirts, and you said the yellow T-shirts. Yeah, it's a yellow T-shirt, load of people, and they're going to be wearing either "Fuck the King" or "Not My King," depending on how the police will rough them up. You said the yellow T-shirt guys tomorrow.
Yes,
they're going to get a kick in. They are going to get a kick in.
No doubt.
I'm sorry, but they are.
Yeah.
That's about all of my call.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what? Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think it's important for people.
Well, we
to
all know it in England. Everybody knows in England about Jimmy Savile and Prince Charles. It's not a secret.
Well, see, I'm not paying
Anyway,
enough attention. Not paying enough attention on my part. So I thank you for that. I
all right.
absolutely thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. All right. Let's move on to our next caller on FU Friday. And I think we have, who is on the line?
Well, I was storing up a hell of a lot of fuck yous from the 80s touring in rock bands, I can tell you.
Okay.
And I am ready to drop them. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be. You go ahead and unleash.
Okay, well, this one's out for our dear WEF, World Economic Forum. Let me tell you something. I already got nothing and I ain't happy, so fuck you.
Okay.
That's number one. I'm feeling them closing in and it's really annoying. And if I had an opportunity to tell them that would be the first thing out of my mouth. I already got nothing and I ain't happy. All righty.
Yep.
As far as Mr. Charles, which I cannot give him any royal title, as the song goes, you can stick your coronation and your chocolate bust up your ass. That's how I feel about him.
All right.
What else is there? I kind of got dampened listening to, I was trying to not think about old Jimmy there because I was aware of it. And that's one thing I can't get that image out of my mind again. But I mean, okay, let's talk about Clinton and frickin'
Freeland.
What's her nuts?
What's her?
Yes.
Mr. Freeland, yeah.
Does she only own one freaking red dress? Every time she does something, it's that damn red dress with her Spanx on. I mean, and all they're talking about is dresses and hair? Fuck you. You come here to our country, you shouldn't even be here. What did you do? Come to Canada to show Freeland how to destroy emails with bleach? I mean, seriously, come on. What the heck? This is a gong show. It's a gong show. Honestly. I mean, oh boy. Oh, deep breath. Anyway.
Yeah.
I know there was some other things, but I'm stuck on the Jimmy thing now.
What
a lot of sickos out there.
What about the Prime Minister himself?
Oh!
Come on. I know you want to.
There's not enough of fuck yous in the world to cover it, Rick. There's just not. The amount of corruption, the every turn is shocking. And I swear to God, he gets more moles per week on that face of his than he started out with. Like, what is going on with these people? What is going on? Biden, he's got freckles, he's got no freckles. Trudeau, he's fat, he's skinny, he's slim, he's ugly, he's uglier. Fuck you, Trudeau. I mean, he has the nerve to say this shit. Oh, don't let me forget about this one. This is a whopper. This really took me. Oh, Pietro Guastamacciatale, in an exhibition he posted on Twitter. Elizabeth Holson, spelt with an H. In the background while she's talking, she's got a LGBT Jesus in the background. A picture of Jesus surrounded by men in BDSM clothing. Fuck you. What the ever lovin'? I mean, this is getting mad. I mean, so insane.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's like every turn, there's just craziness going on. So, anyway, it's Friday, and I know I've got a whole lot of other FUs built up in me, but my mind's going blank because I can't get that image out of my head. I wish I was able to get in right after Leo because I was right fired up. But that just dampened me.
Well, that's okay. I think you've been pretty effective.
I mean, I'm rusty because I saved up my FU since the '80s, since touring in rock bands. I mean, I had to swear with the best of them in the bands because that's the way it went. But it's just rekindling the fire, the FU fire, and it felt really good, actually.
Well, I'm glad.
And I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm glad this has been therapeutic for you.
It is, absolutely. Yes, and we'll let somebody else have a session now.
Well, this is in a way maybe a positive mental health exercise for people.
There you go. Absolute venting's good. I've always said that to people. That's one thing I've done extremely well.
Oh,
I've done very well with venting. But venting's good. It's a very healthy thing to do. Vent, and more people will live and survive on the streets. That's all I can tell you.
There you go.
So happy Fuck You Friday, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Deb. See you. Bye. Okay, here's Dragon. Hello, sir.
Hey, what's up, Maverick? How are you tonight?
I'm fine.
Hope you all fire up.
Oh my goodness, it's a hot show tonight.
Hey, it's fucking Friday, man. It's the weekend. We got to let the freaking steam out.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I guess so.
And yeah, I mean,
good at it.
As a Friday, we got to stay on the freaking line. Now, I mean, look, I got a few good crack for you tonight. First of all, if Trudeau has bought is full of crap shit at the Costco, I mean, seriously, man, what's up with him?
I'm sorry. What was that?
He's lying his ass
I didn't
off,
catch
right?
that. What was that about the Costco? What?
Did Trudeau has bought his crap shit from a Costco store? Seriously, I mean, all the crap that he can get out of his mouth, this is like insane.
Okay.
All the lies that man, this is stupid, man. What? He's a fucking woke liberal at all. I mean, he doesn't know how to count. I mean, basic math. He does it with his both hands. Come on. I mean, we got that as a freaking liberal. You know? I mean, he's a freaking veg. And you know what? How to get those people, okay, out of drugs. But you get them like drugs like veggies. And those veggies, well, they don't even have anything they don't even realize what's going on around them because they're too veg, right? I mean, our government is just a piece of crap. And what about Freeland? Freeland, Jesus Christ. I mean, she's so fucking ugly. I cannot even think about even an EA doing a beautiful job out of her freaking body. I mean, no, man, nobody can even probably have one moment of attention on that woman and probably rock their freaking, no. This is pissing me off today, man. I'm pissed off. I'm fucking pissed off at the government, my friend.
Yeah.
And the king. Well, the king. Well, you know what? Fuck the king. I mean, he's going to be coronated. Well, I say fuck that. You know what? Monarchy has been dead for decades, and he doesn't even know that. What do you think about that, my friend?
I'm happy that you're like everybody else able to come on here tonight and just vent a little bit and express your frustration. I think it's actually turning out to be a good thing. I think it's probably healthy, giving people a voice.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's what I think.
So, and when are you gonna get that poor goldfish? Because I want to see that. Seriously, man.
Yeah,
I need a goldfish.
I was thinking of going down there to get him today, but here's the thing: I want to be a very kind and generous overlord. of the fish. So I want to get the thing set up and make sure the water is just right before I put the fish in it. Right? Because I don't want to be like an evil fish owner. I want to be a kind fish owner. But you guys get to help me create.
Yeah, it takes a moment to get the pH at the right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this is the.
But at
kind
the
of
same
society
time,
I
you
want
know,
to
I
create.
hope you get a beautiful bait tank with some toys in there. You know, I mean, that fish will need some attention, right?
Yeah.
We'll need to float around.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
beautiful fish.
We
Hey,
get,
you want a last one?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know about the NDP, the new dictatorship party of Canada? I mean, hey, you don't have as much Marxist than that, right? Fascist on top. So yeah, don't be a fascist with that poor little guy. You know, the goldfish, he doesn't need that.
Yeah.
Enough of that fascist.
That's why I'm going to be in absolute constant consultation with the Maverick family here, because I want you guys to help me create a great country, a great society, a great fish world for Fred the fish. Well, together we will.
Well, you know what? I think we have a trove of people around here. Gina and Anesti, good people. I know them personally. And you know what? Best moderator ever. And you know what? Yeah, they got some good stuff for you. Listen to them.
I do indeed. Yeah, and I appreciate all that they have done. They've, in a way, they've kind of saved the channel, saved the operation here, because we were sort of under attack there for a while in a pretty heavy way from people who were trying to disrupt and even destroy everything we have. And I needed some help. So
I've seen that.
I absolutely appreciate everything they've done. They've been fantastic.
Well, always happy to fight at your side, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciated. Let's move
My
on
pleasure.
to Isabel and find out what's on her mind on this FU Friday. Or is it-
Happy Fuck Friday, Rick.
Hey, how are you tonight?
Oh, now I can fucking swear as much as I want without being locked out.
Okay, go ahead.
This is crazy. This is crazy, but this is awesome. Fuck You Friday is awesome.
Okay.
I'm not one to mince my words, as my kids know, because they keep telling me I have to watch what I say, and I'm like, no, I don't fucking care no more. Past a certain age, you don't give a shit. But I guess Mr. fucking Fancy Socks will be over dancing in England.
At our expense,
I
again.
wonder if I wonder if he took a pair of Happy Knees with him. He might fucking need them.
No comment. Keep
Because,
going.
bobblehead is still,
Keep going. I'm not saying anything about that. You go ahead.
Well, he's kind of left his Lewinsky here because she's busy with, little Missy from the States. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I cannot imagine, and I'm straight as a die. I could not imagine waking up to that fucking Freeland space in the morning. Like, oh my God, fucking nightmare.
Oh
I
my.
mean, that's a nightmare. And every time I see her, that's all I think about is Lewinsky, because she can't stop moving her fucking head. I wonder if she's got a pair of Happy Knees, probably in Trudeau's office. Probably.
God.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Oh.
I wouldn't doubt it. But I was listening to the Mouth of the South, and oh my God, he had his frustrations out tonight.
He did indeed. Wow.
Oh Lord, I've done a lot of this. What did they call it? Fuddle duddle. Wasn't that what his father said?
Yep, fuddle duddle. Yep. Yep, fuddle
Yeah.
duddle Friday. That's what we have going on here on steroids. Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. And I hate to admit it, but I am, well, I'm British, but I'm Scottish, and I hate the English. Always have.
Okay.
I'm with the side of Braveheart. And yeah, I probably would have been on his side.
William Wallace.
Yeah. Yes, William Wallace. Bare butt and all, but I would have been on his side.
Well, I appreciate
Yeah,
the
this is
call tonight.
fun.
You know, so
Awesome world.
anything, any
But I
other
wish you-
FUs for us tonight?
Well, I wish you a happy fucking Friday, Rick.
Thank you. Likewise. I think it's
And thank you for doing this. This is awesome.
my pleasure.
This is really awesome. I thank you.
My
You take
pleasure.
care. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, let me get back over here. I've kind of lost my place. Here we go. Let's go to, oh, it's Pam, all the way from British Columbia. How are you tonight?
Hello, my dear. It's Dom Pam. And I want to say F you to those who took the throne from us, because Spencers are more royal than that current family sitting on the throne.
Okay.
And that last caller, and I am a true Windsor. I have my line going back for centuries, right back to 80 AD. And it goes into Scotland and Ireland and Spain and Portugal and Russia and Hungary and Poland. It goes into every dynasty that there ever existed. And they say, I watched a show, and they say, oh, the only reason he's becoming king is because he's connected to every regal dynasty that's on record. Well, there's lots of people who are connected to those dynasties, and they just don't even know it. And anyways, I'm saying F you, and I disagree.
Oh, hey, hang on just a moment, because I've lost your feed. Hang on just a second. I've kind of screwed things up here on the computer. Being the master producer that I am, I've taken you down off the feed by accident. So let me just reconfigure this thing so I get everything working again. I really messed this up. I apologize. Hang on just a moment. I'm going to be right back. Let me run this this little promo while I fix my little technical problem here. Hang on.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, I'm back. I need to go over here now. Hang on a second. And I'm going to take that off. Put that up. And there we go. I'm going to have this thing restored in just one moment. Here we go. I use a little bit of brain power there to figure out what I did wrong. Okay, I think we are back in business. Go ahead.
All right, it's Dom Palm, and I'm starting again, I suppose. I just want to say F you to what's going on tomorrow. And that last caller about Jimmy Savannah is totally correct. There's many documentaries on it and many books. And I just want to say that Diana Spencer came from a more royal family, this family that now occupies where it is. And I want to say that when you trace genealogy back, they say that he's chosen, apparently, I was watching an Israeli documentary, and he's chosen because he's attached to every single royal dynasty. Well, many people are attached to those dynasties. They just haven't gone back far enough in their genealogy. And you can do that now because it's all online. And I come from the true Windsors way, way back. And they took our name long ago and during the Second World War. There was a breach somehow. If you follow his genealogy, there's even a breach between around Queen Victoria's time where her son, he's not directly linked. It's coming through other lines.
I saw a report today that indicates 1 in 10 Canadians actually have some sort of link back to our royal family.
Yeah, there's a link in and it's online, and it shows how he does not come from a legitimate, that it's passed on through a relative and through a nephew or an aunt or something above him, a couple of grandparents above him. And there's documentaries on this. I'll do some more digging, and I'll dig it up, and I'll bring it up within the next week. I'll find it. But it's true. And they took the name Windsor. They took it. And Diana was more royal, and even real royalty has documentaries. BBC, it's an English production. I don't know if it's BBC, but they have YouTube videos, and I've been watching them all day. And do you know that when he married Camilla, nobody thought that, even the Queen said she will never be queen, never. And yet there's talk about making her now the Queen Consort, of course. And the mother would be turning in her grave for that. And he went to Balmoral when she was there, and they were planning the party for the Queen Mother, for her 100th birthday. And apparently, now I don't know how true this is, but if it is, it's a terrible thing. He said, he apparently said, well, I will not appear at the party unless I can marry Camilla. And Camilla was a homewrecker.
Well, these guys are not very popular, from what I'm gathering tonight.
I don't know anybody who's celebrating. I'm going to celebrate just for the sake of celebrating my family ancestry that was stolen away from me. And even that title of Sussex, that was ours. Title, that was one of my links, one of my direct lines, and that went extinct. And it all happened around the same time that the Scottish were being wiped out by that family under King George. And it changed everything in the 1700s when they came into power. Everything. It ruined everything. So many of us lost land. So many of us lost our lands and had the taxes, couldn't pay taxes. The same thing happened with World War. Well, they didn't have the same type of tax system back then, but they couldn't. They did it in a different way. But anyways, it's the same with World War One. I mean, all those people, they lost their estates now, and they were old noble families coming from ancient royalty, and they lost their estates because their men went off to war and got killed, and only the people at home couldn't keep the estates up. A few men might have stayed at home because they were older or whatnot, or invalids.
Sure. So I'm just going to get you to wrap up. Just give me a final thought on this FU Friday.
Well, I'm going to F you tomorrow, and I'm going to eat scones and strawberry jam and Devon cream, and I will not be celebrating them. I'll be celebrating my own ancestors.
Okay, thank you for the call.
And my heritage.
Okay.
All right. And that fellow was so good. Everybody should watch that documentary on Jimmy Savannah, and also on Mountbatten. It's very similar.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
You as well. See ya. Okay, I think it's Chris. How are you tonight?
Hi, Rick. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. Go ahead.
On this fine FU night.
Yes.
everybody's quite wired tonight, which is kind of nice to hear for a change.
Yeah.
Some laughter. I want to talk to you about the goldfish.
Sure.
So do you realize that goldfish don't like to be alone, right? So you're going to have to adopt too.
See, there you go. Now we're into population control. How big?
Yeah. See?
Right? See how quickly this goes down these paths, and these are very heavy questions. So now it's like, how big of of the population should we have? And now we have all these ethical issues. But go ahead and and take.
I would just say, get a 10-gallon tank and get two of them, unless they're fairly large fish. Then you might need a bigger one. Give them lots of toys, lots of love.
Okay.
And I mean, would you want to be swimming around in a bowl all day by yourself? Well, nobody talking to you?
Exactly. I mean, this is the thing. You're right.
Right. And yeah, so, and one thing about goldfish, you don't really have to do a whole lot with the water because they're pretty hardy.
Yeah. Although,
they
although I was researching a little bit about goldfish today, and, they have a large bio load. And so as a result, you have to keep the water clean. You have to work very hard at that. And you need to change the, large percentage of the water at least a couple of times a week, depending on the size of the tank and the filtration system. And there's a lot that goes into this. So, it's about food supply management. It's about, waste management, just like in a municipality, right? So we have to, we've got to provide these services. And the question is, though, how is Fred the fish going to earn his keep? How are we going to tax Fred to help pay for this? Or is he just a useless eater?
Well, he could do that too. I have a guinea pig that's pretty useless, and all he does is eat and poop. So there you go. He's not much of a pet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
my son said 2 years ago, can you just watch him for about a month? Well, I've had him for 2 years now, and I still can't pick him up and hold him. I have to put him in a bucket to pet him because he doesn't like to be held. So not my favorite pet, but I love animals, so I'm not just going to dispose of them. Right?
Yeah. Right. So these are important questions. We have to come up with solutions. One of the things that we're going to have to come up with is, how is Fred going to earn his keep? Because we need Fred to produce.
That's something we could all think of.
Yeah. I've already got a couple of ideas, but I'm just going to put the question out there so that I don't, contaminate the idea pool. I want people to think for themselves and present their ideas, but I've got something in my noggin already. So we'll see. I think this is going to be an interesting series of conversations and an interesting exercise.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And, that video you showed of Trudeau, of course, his nose gets bigger and bigger. In fact, I think it's bigger than Pinocchio's at this point. Like, seriously, he just goes, but I do like that Pierre comes back and always has something to say back to him, though. He doesn't just sit and take it, which is kind of cool.
That's right.
And then you had to show that video of Freeland. Well, that just ruined the whole night because she's as useless as you can get.
Gave everybody a little bit of fuel for the FU Friday fire, though.
No kidding. And as far as FU, this FU King too, I have no use for this. I think it's time Canada personally cut ties, but that's just my thought. I just, it is what it is, but I think it's an awful waste of money, and that the monarch should be paying for it, not the taxpayers of London that are also struggling like everybody else in the world, with food prices and everything. And of course, God only knows what Trudeau's going to do to embarrass Canada this time. Was he going to sing this time at karaoke? You never know, right?
Don't know. I'm waiting to see what if there are any faux pas this time around. We shall see. Anyway, thank you for calling in. It's been a great call.
You're welcome. We'll touch bases again. Take care, Rick.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Take care. Here's, I think it's Mike from Northern Ontario. How are you tonight?
Hey, good, Rick. How you doing?
I'm okay. So lay
Mike
it on
from
me on this
Dublin,
FU
North
Friday. Go ahead.
Ontario. Bitchute.
Sorry, what's
Hey,
that?
pardon me?
I didn't mean to speak over you. You go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I'm the one that created the Bitchute channel there to expose all these lies of COVID.
Okay, we are on Facebook, so I'm going to ask you to be very careful about what you're saying there.
Oh, I thought you were just on Rumble. Well, I
Yeah.
can't speak at all. I got some very, very important information I'd like to share with you about the NCI.
Okay.
Okay, that everybody is overlooking, and it's really pissing me off because I see exactly what they're doing with the NCI.
All right. You know what I'm
Okay,
going to do?
this is gonna-
We're near the end of the broadcast, so in order for you to give you a chance to speak freely, I'm going to pull off Facebook because we're just about wrapped up for the night anyway, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. So let me just
Perfect, because I got bombshell information for you
And
that
then
nobody else has even thought of.
All right. And so if anybody on Facebook or these other platforms that we're on tonight, if you want to hear what we're about to talk about, you're going to have to go over to the Rumble channel now or pick up the replay after. But here we go. I'm going to dump off Facebook. Thank you, Facebook. Love you, but we're going to have to go. Okay. So hang on here. I've got to come off all these different platforms. And there goes Facebook 1. And here goes Facebook 2. And here goes Facebook 3. And we have a lot of people watching on Facebook. So we're giving up a lot of audience here tonight. Again, I'm very sorry, folks. But, at some point we do have to be able to speak freely. So here goes Facebook 4 on this one. Gonzo. Goodbye, Facebook. And let me just check over here on these streams. Oh, I have a couple more over here. Different channels. Oops, we got to get rid of that. Thank you for your patience while I do this. Goodbye.
Oh, no
Facebook
problem at all.
there. Okay, that one's gone. And